Good day, fashion friends. If you remember, a few weeks ago, we went live with Santa discussing a new outfit for Santa. We had all kinds of ideas that we had come up with. And so we were kind of like test marketing those ideas to see what everybody else thought. In today's tutorial, we are going to start, because I feel this is going to be a multi-part video, making a new Santa outfit for my personal live-in Santa. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is shout out to Miss Sarah. She lives about an hour or so from me, and she was in the live and she contacted me via Facebook Messenger and said that she had some things that she wanted to possibly donate to our cause. I did offer to pay for it and she refused. So thank you to Miss Sarah, who watches my tutorials, comments, and joined the live with us. And she now has donated these two amazing red quilted blankets. So I have plenty of material to work with. They are textured, they're not too heavy, they're fairly thin, so they're going to be easy to work with, and they're not going to be too warm for Santa. They're going to be just right. Okay, so Santa is here for his fitting, and since I don't have a pattern, I'm going to... Sorry. And since I don't have a pattern, I'm going to use a costume that I made for a friend several years ago. He was going as Lord Varys from Game of Thrones, and they're close to the same size, roughly. So I'm going to have him try this on, because then I can use these pieces as a pattern or a guideline to... What are you doing? Yeah, these curtains on the end were... So yeah, by the way, this was made out of 2 sets of curtains. So for those of you that are familiar with Game of Thrones, our friend is normally bald, and then he just has like a mustache goatee. So for a Halloween party that we went to, he wanted to go as Lord Varys, and I went as another Game of Thrones character, and he went as another Game of Thrones character. Hodor.
I was Hodor.
He was perfect as Hodor, let me tell you.
I was a great Hodor. Hodor!
So we went to the thrift store, we bought 2 sets of curtains, he picked out what he wanted, and this is what I came up with. So for anybody that's familiar with Game of Thrones...
It worked out amazing. We were awesome.
Lord Varys. And that was made in like less than a day. Yeah. Like
and,
it was
and
literally...
we were awesome.
Yes, we were awesome. We were awesome.
Back when people used to have Halloween parties.
Right, and made their costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to have this part, of course. All right.
I am the Dread Pirate Wobbits!
No, you're not. No. That's not the same thing. That's not even close. Anyway.
I mean, it's close. It almost fits me.
Okay. All right, how's the back feel?
It's snug
Okay.
across the back.
All right.
It's tight in the front and tight under the arms.
Yeah, I see how it's bunching up. So looks like you'll need like maybe 2 more inches to allow for like if you're wearing a sweatshirt or any other thing underneath.
Yeah, you definitely need to lower it there, and
Okay.
I've got some impact here.
Okay, so we'll add to this. I think once the
sleeve is down lower, maybe
once
be
the
better.
sleeve is down lower, it'll be more comfortable. And now I'm kind of digging this crossover look.
I don't mind it at all, because I'll be honest, in the dapper world of what I grew up with like blazers and such, like a double-breasted blazer where you have buttons here and buttons here.
That's your jam?
It was kind of my jam, because it looks fly like
I
white.
have white buttons, so I can add white buttons for like decoration.
Yeah.
And then we could do like, instead of, this material, we could do fur here and fur here and have like this really nice overlap look.
Yeah, and then no shirt, so I got my...
And chains, gold chains.
The gold chains and hamburger meat hanging out. Yeah. I'm totally fine with the crossover thing. I actually rather like that. That's fine.
Okay, cool. All right, so probably add like 1/2 inch to the front, 1/2 inch to 1 inch to the front, 1/2 inch to the back.
But you don't want to make it baggy.
Right. And then we're gonna lower this 2 inches, so we'll make these sleeves bigger. And then, let's see, length, let me get my tape measurer. I was also thinking of using like
That's 8 inches.
I was thinking of maybe using your Gandalf
Ask
robe.
me how I know.
It's not that kind of channel. All right, so there is your wrist. It is 7.5, sir. It's
From
you're not
tip of my thumb to tip of my pinky.
but you don't want the sleeve clear back there.
Boom.
It is. Yeah, he's right. Go away.
I'm just saying.
Okay. So yeah, you want it to come right to the end of your wrist. So
7 inches?
yeah.
Okay. Well, then you're going to add fur onto that, right?
Yeah, but it'll be over top.
Okay. Well, whatever.
It'll just be added onto the top.
Okay.
So, okay.
And this is what you're going to make my...
Yep.
Okay.
Donated from Miss Sarah, a loyal watcher and commenter.
That's awesome.
Yes. She was
Thank
very
you, Sarah.
sweet.
Appreciate it. You're going to make Santa a very happy person.
And I had, like I said, we had talked about maybe making him like bib overalls instead of like having just a shirt and pants or whatever. So if there's enough material left, I could either maybe make you some pants or make you some bib overalls. We'll have to see how much fabric is left once we're done. Otherwise, I will find some other kind of Christmas fabric. Because when I was at the bins the other day, I found a big like red and green plaid tablecloth that I almost picked up, but I didn't know if it would be enough material to make you bibbies.
For the country Santa?
Yeah.
I'm into that.
And but I didn't think that would go, because I already had this in mind, so I didn't think that would go with this.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm sure we'll be able to find something else somewhere.
That's a you thing.
Or even if we don't find the right color and we find the right material, I can dye it.
Yeah.
So
I can't dye it because it's bulking up season.
It is.
All right.
Gotta make weight, right?
Exactly. Anything else you need?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
All right.
Derobe me.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deconstruct this item because we don't need it anymore. He wore it one time and it's been hanging in my closet for Lord knows how long. Now, full disclosure, I made this probably a good 4 years ago, and I was making it in a hurry. And I needed to do the easy peasy way. So the front panels of the decorative fabric, I literally just hot glued on. And some of the areas, little tip for you, alcohol breaks down hot glue. So if you have something that is fabric that's hot glued together and you need to take it apart, without ripping the fabric, without trying to reheat the glue and pull it apart, all you gotta do is spray some alcohol in the area and give it a little time to kind of set in, and it will pull apart. Now this part I used a lot of glue, but as you can see, that is definitely coming apart. So I'm going to deconstruct this garment in order to have a pattern, and I made notes of what I need to add and take away, because we're going to make the sleeve shorter and everything else bigger. And then I will be able to reuse this curtain fabric because I'm almost out. This one, probably not, but this tapestry curtain, definitely. All right, let me deconstruct this and then I will be back. So I just want to give you another example of how, so I have like a lot of glue in this corner. I sprayed it with alcohol and I took a pair of jewelry pliers and I started pulling this and it worked. That's how I got it started. And look, see how that just, the alcohol just makes it easier to rip items off of glued fabrics. So if you're ever gluing something and you make a mistake and you used hot glue, just use alcohol. And then the other thing, it does dry quickly. So you're not dealing with wet fabric. And this fabric, yes, it is getting ruined, but I don't care because I'm not going to reuse this fabric. It doesn't have a print or any kind of use that I have, so I may cut off the damaged pieces and donate it. I just don't think I have any use for it. So here's another spot that's a little tough. So I'm going to get in there, spray it real good with some alcohol. And look, it just pulled right apart. Okay, I have everything torn apart. And since this is such a large project, I have to try to put my camera someplace that will capture the entire thing. Okay, so I have my blanket laid out, and there is kind of an edging on the perimeter of the blanket. So I'm going to use these corners so I don't have to hem. So I'm going to lay the pattern. The length was fine. This is going to have a raw edge. And then we need to add a 1/2 inch plus some seam allowance to both front panels. All right, so this is going to be one of the front panels. I'm going to cut this. Here and here is fine because that's the edge. So I just need to allow for some seam allowance up the side, the top, and in the front. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I'll work on the other piece, which will probably be on the other side. All right, first panel, done. I don't want to go around, I don't know if I should use this. Let me see if I can use this piece, because this has all my seam allowance on it. That way I don't have to go back around and measure everything. Yep, it's the same angle in everything. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to use this as my pattern. All right, so now I'm just going to cut a second piece for the other side. I just want to make sure I had it in the right direction, although this is the same fabric on both sides. So there's really no right side or wrong side. And then this corner hangs over a little bit, but maybe I shouldn't be worried about that. So, because that is a little crooked the way it was made. All right, now I'm going to cut a second piece. So apparently the left and the right are the same. Now, I know you professionals are going to be like, but you don't have an armhole, it's straight. I'm going to worry about that later. We may not need that because it's an oversized cloak style. I'm going to worry about that later. If I have to cut a little bit of a, but I don't think I will because it's a cloak, it's a duster. Yeah. Okay. Cut out piece 2. Okay, you know how you try to utilize fabric as much as possible? Well, unfortunately, this is the back panel, and it needs to be a little bit bigger. Now, I have enough to go crossways, but it's going to be, you're not going to see this on camera, but there's a decorative line that is in between the flower panels. Let me bring the camera over so you can see. Okay, so there's a panel there, and then there's a square, and then there was a square, okay? And then this is the border around the blanket. So, to do the back, do we need to make this line go down the back, or is anybody going to notice? Because if I put this back panel on here, oh wait, what if I have part of this and then part of this border? It doesn't match exactly, but I really don't think anybody's going to notice it. Because it's just not that noticeable. And I'm overthinking it. I think so. So I'm going to try to piece it to where, because I was trying to get this line to go up the center, but that's not going to work because I have this part cut off. This middle piece would be perfect because it does go up the middle, but it's not wide enough. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use the flower panels instead of this line to go up the center. So then there will be a border here and a border here. And it's going to be slightly off because those are real narrow and these are a little wide. But again, I don't think anybody's going to notice. It's not that big a deal. But this being off center would definitely be noticeable. Am I being ADHD? Or is that just a perfectionist tendency? Are they the same? Let me know. Okay, I have all my pieces cut out. Now, the next thing that I want to do, I don't want this to be completely closed. I want there to be like a little bit of a split on each side. So I need to be able to know where that is so I can match it all up. So I measured and it is 19 inches. So I'm going to take all my pieces, mark 19 inches up because that is where I'm going to kind of like cut that and then roll that hem over. And if that's not the right way to do it, I'm sorry to the professionals, but that is how I'm doing it. I may do some research on it. I don't know if that's supposed to be out further, but it made sense in my head. So that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to mark all my pieces 19 inches up the side to know where I need to have my slit. I think I might also check with Santa if he doesn't want that open. Maybe I'll just leave it closed. Okay, so since this is thicker material than the curtains that I worked with on the previous project, trying to roll this over and stitch it, I'm really not a fan of that because it's going to be like pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is just do like an overlock stitch all the way down to finish this edge, and I'm only going to sew it to here. So I'm not going to do that first. I'm going to do that last in case I need to trim some. So I am going to start assembling the piece. The next thing I'm going to look into is the back piece. I know that that I have this straight across, so I need to cut a little bit of I need to cut a little bit out. I can't remember what it's called, but I know I need to cut a little bit out to allow for the neck, and then stitch some kind of, I forget what it's called. I don't know if it's called a yoke, or I know there's supposed to be some kind of material on the inside to finish that edge right there. So I'm going to do some research on that, on how to do that. And I think I don't know if I want to do that first or if I start stitching it together. I need to do a little research because I am making something from total scratch. And I want to make sure that it has a nice finish to it. So I will be back. Okay, I figured out what it's called. It's called facing. I had some brain fog going on. So I'm not sure I'm going to do this with quilted material, but I definitely need a neckline in the back so we don't want it to come straight across. So I took it in the other room, I had him stand up and hold it, and I just drew a rough chalk line for the neckline. So now I have my fabric, my back fabric folded in half, and I kind of looked, so I know that I like this side better. This side I come up a little short, so I put pins on where I want it to end, and I put a pin in the middle because, like I said, my fabric is folded in half. So now I am going to fix this side and correct the line that I made. And I wipe that away. And then this one kind of goes like that. Now I'm going to, like I said, I like this side rather than this side. This side's a little short. So now I'm going to pin how far down. So now you can see where my pins come through that it's a little short. So now I'm going to redraw the line again so that way it'll match from side to side. Okay, quick repeat. I started here, and then when I got to the other side, I just kind of I just drew it to have a guideline. So I like this side because it gives him a little more room. So I'm using this line, folded in half, pinned to match this side to this side so it's even. And then I pinned on this side because I prefer this line. And then I'm going to start here and redraw this line where the pins are showing. So that way the neckline will be even. And then I'm going to figure out how to do facing. I think I'm making it harder than it is because I don't need to put interfacing in the facing, if that makes sense. Okay, now I'm going to cut out this neckline and hope that I'm right. And I also pinned it into place so that the material doesn't shift while I'm trimming it. So I'm going to need something to go along here so that it folds over, and then I'll top stitch it so that it'll lay down and look really nice. Okay, I pinned this together crudely. Santa has a nice amount of room in the neckline, so he likes that. Armholes are good. I did like 15-inch to allow for seam allowance. And the sides are good, everything fits good. So I'm going to start stitching and then work from there on the details. So here we go. Oh, and the cool thing about this fabric, there's no right side or wrong side. So the way that I have this pinned is pretty much good to go. Okay, so I didn't show this, but here's what I did. So I laid the neckline over a scrap piece, traced the neckline, moved it down, traced it again. I overlock stitched on the side and the part that's going to be on the inside and stitched it to the neckline. Now what I'm doing is I'm folding this over and I'm going to pin it into place. And I think I'm going to top stitch, but I'm not sure if I need to stitch the front and the back together first. I'm going to have to mess around and figure that out. But it's just going to look like a nice finished edge on the outside. But I'm at least going to pin this into place and then see about stitching the top part together. And like I said, I think I need to trim the overlap, the little V overlap portion, because what's the rule? It's better to have too much than not enough. All right, so now I'm gonna just pin and iron this all into place and then see what I need to do next, because as usual, I'm just winging it. Okay, so I have the shoulder pieces pinned down and the facing is going to fit nice and lined up with that. So let's hope that that's what we want. So I have this pinned. I'm going to flip this around and check it out. And that looks like that is going to look nice. I'm sorry. I have to see. The lighting in this room is terrible. So now I'm not sure if I need to maybe just fold this over or cut it. I'm not sure. I may have him go try it on and see what it's going to look like. But this is going to be my neckline with the facing, and it's going to stitch into the shoulders, which seems correct to me. I mean, it makes sense. So I'm going to have him go try this on. Okay, we did a fitting with Santa, and everything is fitting very well. We are going to trim this V, this angle part here, because it's like way up in his neck, so we want it to kind of come out this way instead of like being up against his neck. So that's going to get trimmed, and that's fine. And then we also notice that this comes down straight. So instead of having a straight jacket, instead of having the jacket come down straight, I am going to, instead of having this split open, I think I'm going to rip this up just a little bit more and insert 2 triangle pieces in order to get it to billow out a little bit. Not sure if I'm going to have to add a triangle piece in the back. I'm just going to do the 2 sides first, and then I'll see if I need to add one in the back, because he doesn't want it straight. He wants it to kind of like billow out and be slightly flowy, although with this quilting material it's not going to be super flowy, but he doesn't want it straight. So I will add 2 triangle pieces to this section as well. But next step, I'm going to stitch this top together and then move on to the next step, which is trimming the collar. Okay, I now have the shoulders stitched. I have the facing top stitched, so it is pressed, it is top stitched, it's going to stay in place. And I trimmed the V-neck from, I kept the original lower point, and then I just trimmed off a little bit to even it up on the shoulders. And now I'm going to go have Santa try it on with no pins just to make sure. Okay, this is the last full piece that I have left on the first blanket. I'm trying, oh no wait, yep I do. Okay, now because I used that border section to border the bottom of the cloak, this is all I have left of the border section. So if I can fold this in half and make my panels, my triangle panels out of this, then I should be good to go. And that gives me plenty. All right, so I'm going to make them this wide, get that to billow out, and then I just need to figure out, so I'm going to cut this in half, and then I just need to figure out how I want to go up a little further. I think I want to tear this out about 8 more inches because it's too low to the bottom. Make a triangle, 2 triangle panels out of this last scrap and insert those. And we'll see what that looks like. I'm going to pin it first and see what it looks like before I stitch it. So I'm going to do that. Cut this in half, measure my triangles, rip that out, pin it in, and then see what it looks like. Okay, so I cut my last scrap in half so that they're fairly even. I have 19 inches of gap. I wanted to add 8 inches, so that's 27. So I cut 28 in length, and I folded each section into half, and I'm going to start at the open end and put my yardstick, and then at the top I have the yardstick not on the edge of the triangle but on the other side, because we want to allow for any movement and allow a little wiggle room. So I just have it at an angle, and then I am going to trim this. Okay, so here is my triangle piece. Like I said, we want to leave a little bit at the top, and that's my 27-inch mark. Again, we can trim it if we need to. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece. The only unfortunate thing is that this piece is a little crooked. As we know, even something that is professionally made is not always perfect. So we're gonna have to play with this a little bit, but I'm gonna cut this, fold this in half and cut a triangle as well. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to fit this triangle in here, because remember we cut a little extra at the top, but we do need this to come to a point. So I pinned from the bottom to the top, and the reason you want to do that, so that way you know that your bottoms are lining up. Because if you start at the top and work your way down, then your bottoms won't match, and then you have to hem. We don't want to do that. We don't have to, right? We have a nice finished edge that's already hemmed. So I pinned up to about 3 inches from the top on both sides. So now I'm going to fold the triangle part in half and fit it down into my opening. And you see you have a little bit of extra material here. Well, that's what we're going to cut off. But before I do that, I'm going to pin it into place on both sides. Okay, here we go. Where's that? There we go. And look at that. I got a pin missing there. But look at that. Look how nice. So right in the middle of my sentence, my battery died. So I decided to take a break, and we ended up having to go get some groceries and get some dinner. But in the meantime, once my battery died, I ended up finishing the one panel that I started working on. So I'm going to flip the camera around and show you what this looks like. Okay. So it is stitched in. So I'll show you. It is stitched in. And then I ironed the raw edges toward the triangle, so inward. And then I went through and I top stitched all the way down, so that way this would lay much nicer. And then I did like an extra little stitch at the top right there, just kind of make sure that everything got tied together. I don't know what the name of that stitch is, but it's on my machine, and I used it because it kind of like locks things into place. It's like a really heavy type of stitch. There you go. So now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, I have run into a slight problem, very slight problem. This piece, which would make a great sleeve, and then the only other piece I have left is this, which is not big enough to make a sleeve, which means I may have to cut into the second piece. Okay, I consulted with Santa about my predicament, and we were thinking to make like bib overalls with the other, but we don't think that's going to go style-wise with the cloak that I'm making. So we were just going to do some pants, and then he'll just wear like a white shirt or something with it. Thought about keeping it a vest, and I don't think it's going to look right, especially with it being double-breasted. So now what I have to do, I have to make sure of two things. One, I now have to stop this project, get the other quilt, and cut out what I want for his pants. And at the same time, make sure that my scrap looks the same as this piece, because this came out of the middle. There's no border on this piece. It's just the flowered panels with the lines going down the middle and across. So I have to try to get the sleeves to match this piece. So I need to cut the pants out. And then that will probably be another video. So now for this evening, I'm going to have to put this one on hold for a short period of time, cut out the pants, make sure I have what I want, what I need, and then come back to this with what I have left. Yay. Okay, so he already has these kind of like red, like velvety pants, but those aren't going to go very well with this quilted kind of look that we have going on. So I'm just going to make him another pair of pants out of the other quilted material that is going to match the cloak. So all I did was lay the pants, and there's really no front or back. They're just like costume kind of pants. So I laid them out, and because this is a thicker material, I need to do more than just like a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch seam allowance to get them to lay correctly. So I allowed for just a little more seam allowance, and I just kind of drew and traced all the way around. I'm going to do an elastic waistband, and I kind of want to use some wider elastic instead of this little skinny stuff, just because this is a thicker material. I think a wider elastic would look better. I may have to stitch the elastic to the material and then flip it over and then stitch it in place. I will have to do some research on that. So we are now cutting out the pants. Okay, I didn't film pretty much any of this. Once I cut them out, they were just a very simple pair of pants. There was like no distinct front or back. He said the ones he had fit him perfectly. So all I did was put the waist to the crotch together, stitched on both of those sides, then opened them up and stitched down the legs. And the way I did the elastic, I happen to have, I think this is probably about 1 inch elastic from an estate sale. Yay for estate sales. And I did it the way where you zigzag stitch it onto the material on the very end and then flip it down and then stitch it again. And the trick to that, for anybody watching that doesn't know, you have to use the zigzag stitch to allow for the stretching, and as you're sewing you have to stretch the elastic and then do a zigzag stitch as you go along. So it was just very tedious and a little bit of an extra step, but I like the look of the sewn in elastic as opposed to running it through a channel. That's just my preference. However, if you were to make something like this, you could absolutely do a channel and then run it through and then stitch it up. So that's just what I did. I have a raw edge, because I had so much sewing to do that I just didn't overlock stitch it. And it's gonna be on the inside, so it's not gonna be seen. I couldn't double it over because then it just makes it really thick. I did take them downstairs and he tried them on, and they absolutely fit him perfectly. They are perfect in length, they're perfect in the waist. He says they're very comfortable. I'm sure they are. It's like wearing a blanket. And he definitely likes them better than the really thin crushed velvet ones, because this is just really thin material. And he used to, if it was cold outside, he would have to wear like some kind of thermals or something underneath of these. So these will definitely keep him warmer in the wintertime when he's playing Santa. Okay, it is at this point that I'm going to bring this video to a close. I still have to do the sleeves. We had a couple things going on. Yesterday we did our Thanksgiving a day early, so I took the day off. So I'm going to close out this video for this segment. I am currently searching the internet for various appliques that I can put on to decorate it, because I cannot do embroidery. I can do it on my machine. It has the capability, but my capability to do embroidery, freehand embroidery with my machine, needs a lot of practice. I've tried it one time. It is not easy. It's very time consuming and takes a lot of practice. So I am searching for trimmings and like decorative appliques that I'm just simply going to iron on to the garments, in addition to fur. So detailing the cloak and possibly the pants will be in the next video as soon as I source what I need, what we like, and figure out how I'm going to put it on, how I'm going to place things, and make sure that I have everything before I start doing the details. So that will be in the next video. So thank you for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. We have to feed the algorithm dragon. We need to give him a name. Let me think of that. So yes, and be sure to check out any of my other videos here on this channel. I do a wide variety of tutorials. Anything that I have made, unless it's something that I specifically said that I made for myself, are available for purchase, usually on my Depop, which is like Mercari and Poshmark. It's just another selling platform. However, I'm able to keep my prices lower because they do not charge seller fees like other platforms do. So that allows me to keep my prices a little bit lower and not have to interfere with seller fees on platforms. So until next time, love, peace, and thrift, and we'll catch you on the flip side.